It's a family simcha. Okay, yeah. Well, so this week's parasha, there's a long discussion about Eliezer Eved Avram. Eliezer Eved Avram, he's Avram's slave, and he's sent on this mission to find a zivug for Yitzchak and Rivka, which is going to bring on Klal Yisrael, which is going to bring on the birth of Yaakov and Esav. Eliezer Eved Avram, he arrives to Lavan's house. And they said, okay, he said, I've got what to tell you guys about. I want to talk to you a bit. And he starts off and he says, Eved Avram Anochi. That's the first thing I had to say. Eved Avram Anochi. Is the obvious, the question is, why is that such an important introduction? Eved Avram Anochi. There's a it's such a beautiful chap from the Heilige Rebbe Beis Yisrael, Ger Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael, one of the earlier Ger Rebbes. He says it more bekitzer, kedarkom b'kodesh, but it's a beautiful chap. And I'll just give you, he just says it in short, but I want to build around it a bit. Eliezer was longing, right, to become a mechutin with Avram Avinu. Right, he wanted Yitzchak Avinu for his daughter, but Avram Avinu said, Ein oro mizdabik b'barach, you're an Eved, we're this. And he accepted it, and on the contrary, he was willing to go and find the shidduch. Eliezer Eved Avram's milah was that he knew who he was. Eved Avram Anochi. He knew that he's an Eved. He'd love to be ois Eved. He'd like to become not an Eved. And Lamaisa eventually, he did become not an Eved. In other words, he left Oror and he became Baruch, right? Evodim accursed from Chom, and he became a Baruch. So he did at the end of the day get to where he wanted to get. But he didn't do anything wild, or he knew where he was. He knew what his home base is. He knew where he's coming from and he knew where he is. And he built healthily and organically where he was. The Beis Yisrael says that the pasuk says about Eliezer that he was Zakan Beisai. He was Zakan, he was the elder of Avram Avinu's house. So he says that Chazal say, Ein Zoken Ela Mi Shekona Chachma. A Zoken is another word for a Chacham. And he also says that Ezer Chacham Hamakir Es Makoimoy. Ezer Chacham, Avram Ismaili, ready, Chaps the Vod, Polish Shekop. Ezer Chacham Hamakir Es Makoimoy. What does it mean, Hamakis Makoimoy? He recognizes his place. So what that means is, a Chacham is somebody that knows who he is. He's Makir his Mokum. He's Makir where he is, where he grew up. What are the expectations he should have from himself? What way can he grow organically, healthily, step by step? So many people, they get very excited, or they go beyond, or they grow in an unhealthy way, which is mamish a plague in today's generation. They grow, and this is a problem that spreads to Bachrim, seminary girls, especially, and like they want to grow faster, they want to grow into places which is not their mokim. And this is really an atzas hayetzer, and we'll get to it. This is really an eitzer of the Yitzhar. This is one of the ways the Yitzhar breaks people. He makes them grow in an unhealthy way. And I can tell you a lot of stories from Talmidim over the years. I remember in OJ there was two Talmidim that come to my mind vividly. One of them is Bechlal, not from today, and he became very, very frum, very fast. And he became halach, everything was asking halacha shaylas, and even when you answered him what the halach is, he wasn't happy. He went to ask another posek and another posek, and everything was, you got to be frumah, you got to be frumah, you got to be frumah. It took a year and a half. He couldn't come back the second year to OJ. Obviously, it's not from enough. He went to Tomo, and then from there he went midechi el dechi. He went from problem to problem, and a short while later, b'chalal not from, totally mentally messed up. There was another bacher there that used to, Friday night, I remember in the Insha Bosim, I was there, and he wouldn't sing Zmiris, he had an open Gemara underneath. He said, it's bittul Torah to sing Zmiris. I said, there's Eis Lakoil. I says, you're not like that. It says, somebody once said to me that, I was telling them about During Pesukah de Zimri, you're not supposed to learn. You're not supposed to learn. You're supposed to look in your siddur. Stand up, look in your siddur. So he told me that. I don't want to say his name. It's not lashon hara, but it was a big, huge masbid here in Eretz Yisrael. It was one of the biggest goinim here. He used to till he was in his 70s. He used to stay in yeshiva. He was married to kids. He used to stay in yeshiva all week. He had a room and he learned Yom V'Layla. So he said, this bacha says to me, "What do you mean? I saw this and this gadol, and during Chazos Hashatz he was learning." I says, "What's the power between you and him?" That's called somebody that leaves Mekoymai. Know where you are, know where you're at. And again, this boy at the end of the year, from all his hasmada, instead of singing his mirrors, from all his great hasmada, messed up completely. And I, in fact, met him a few years ago. He's married and his kids, but he's separated from his wife for a couple of months because he's in a rehab. That's what happened to his hasmada. You got to know where you are. You got to grow organically. Eliezer and Avraham grew, but he was a Zucker, he was a chacham, and he was makiyas makoymai. Every bocha and everyone are allowed to have beautiful experiences. You are allowed to climb out of your kalim sometimes. There are days in the year, the Yom Tovim, Simchas Torah, Purim. There are days in the year where you're supposed to climb out of your kalim. There are days in the year where you're supposed to literally leave your makom. But it's leaving your makom al das to return after Purim, after Yom Tov. The Yidden used to go on Yom Tov. The Yidden used to go on Yom Tov to the Beis Hamikdash. They left their homes and they went for a high experience, a real high experience. They left their homes. Leaving their homes means we're leaving our comfort zone. We're leaving our organic growth, and we're going to the Beis Hamikdash to have some wild growth. Simchas Beis Hasheva is all night long, wild growth. And there are days in the year where you're supposed to have wild growth in the Yom Tovim. But then you go home. You mustn't leave, you mustn't forget your home. You mustn't forget where you're from. When the Yidden received the Torah, Matan Torah, so the end of Parshas Yisro, right? After Parshas Yisro is Parshas Mishpatim, which means they were on a high, Parcha Nishmosim. They were such a high that the Neshamas left them. Har Sinai, the experience of Har Sinai is something that you can't stay in your place. but they went on a high, Parcha Nishmosim. But after Parshas Yisrael comes Parshas Mishpatim. Now I come back to nitty gritty. Ve'ela Mishpatim asher tasim lefneim. Open a Shulchan Aruch. How are you supposed to get up in the morning? Don't remain on the high. Don't remain on the high. I once saw people Balchuvas. I once saw them on a bus. They were like steeped into deep Sfarim on Tzom Gedalia, and they were nashing, eating bagels. I've forgotten what they were eating on Tzom Gedalia, and they were learning deep Torah. I mean, you can see they looked rubbish. They were certified fresh Balchuvas. They were busy with deep Torah, but they were eating on Tzom Gedalia. Don't go on a high, and then you're going to start questioning Allah. You're going to say, "No, I'm at such a high level. These halachas are for the layman, not for me." And therefore, the last pasuk in Parshas Yisro is "Leisale b'malis al mizbechi." Leisale b'malis al mizbechi. Don't climb too high. Leisale b'malis. Don't go to levels, to milas where you can't get to. That's the bridge between Yisro and Mishpatim. After Yisro, Klal Yisrael are going to be wild for the rest of their lives. After what they experienced. Leisale b'malis. 1 second. You had this experience, take it in and go back to your place. This is the Yesod of Shabbos. Shabbos, the pasuk says, Shvu ish tachtov, al yetze ish mim koimoy. In other words, Shabbos is al yetze ish mim koimoy. What's the beauty of Shabbos? Families sit together. You're in your zone. You're in your mokoim. Shabbos is a time to be in your mokim. That's why Baruch Hashem here in yeshiva, even in the out Shabbosim, ruba de ruba of the yeshiva, vast majority of yeshiva stays in because they feel this is their mokim. They feel at home here. Baruch Hashem, welcome home. Shabbos is a time to be home. Shabbos is a time to be home means hamakes makoyma, to be in your place. You must realize that once upon a time, chinuch was at home. Right? There were no schools. Girls' schools for sure not. Girls' schools is a new thing from Sarah Schneer. Even the yeshivas, how many bachim, what are the percentage in Poland, Lithuania, and all these places where yeshiva bachim? The chinuch was at home. Because the chinuch was at home, it was a pretty healthy chinuch, and in most cases. Why? Because they grew from home. That's a healthy place to grow. When you grow from home, you grow from your zone, your own zone. This is where you belong. There you can grow organically. You can reach very high madrigas, but you grow healthily. Today, and again, a lot of people, especially people that come from homes that are less religious, so that's not the place for them to grow. And whatever the case is, even in the very, very frum world today, most of the chinuch, in fact, comes from, they go to yeshiva young, they leave home young, and most of the chinuch happens to come from the yeshiva, come from the Rabbi, and sometimes it's not their mokim. Sometimes the chinuch that they're being given is not their mokim. It's like, because in yeshiva you get a blanket chinuch for everybody, right? They're giving you one type of hashkafa, one type of thing, and they're giving it to you for one thing for everybody. So sometimes it's not the mokim. It's not the mokim. And that's a hayrah to Rabbi. A hayrah to Rabbi that v'shinantam levanecha ela tamidim. Right? When the Pasuk says, V'shinantam levanecha nechazal darshan, these are your Talmidim. Which means, according to what we're saying, V'shinantam levanecha, you've got to teach your Talmidim as if they're your sons. And they're just like your son, you machanechem in the mokum, he's your son, at home. So you've got to give every bacher a feeling, and you've got to know the bacher, and you've got to feel that this bacher is your son, and you've got to understand him, know where he's from, know where his healthy zone is, and help him grow organically from the place that he's in. That's v'shinantam levanecha. But today people grow out of that, because the main chinuch happens to be now that people are, even kids, even saying here, 13-year-old bachim, I'm not going into the sugya, but I'm saying 13-year-old bachim, they leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they come back like 9 o'clock in the evening, some of them. So it's gewaltig, they're learning all day long, it's gewaltig, but sometimes they're missing out on their mokim. They're missing out on their mokim. A father can't find necessarily an institution for his child that matches mokim, the natural healthy mokim for the child. So this is something where people got to be very careful. This is something to learn a lesson from Eliezer Eved Avram. He says Eliezer Avram, he's makir makoimer. And Enechanam, he ended up being baruch. He left being an oror. He wasn't Eved from home, but he did Avram's shlichus. He says, I'm an Eved. I've been sent, dispatched on a mission. I've got to carry out my mission. He davens to Hashem be'emunah, with tmimus, no chachmas. Hashem, please help me that the right one should come out and I should recognize Hashem. Says, of course, if that's how you're trying to grow, if you're trying to grow be'emunah, with tmimus, then you can get growing. Then you can grow. This zivug, has to be the zivug that's bringing on Yaakov and Esav. The tragedy of Esav is he wanted to be in a place that's not his mokum. There's a few meanings to that, but we'll focus on one of the meanings. Yaakov and Esav were destined to be the following. So Yaakov is an ish tom, Yoshev Aholim. Yaakov's destined, his mokum is the Beis HaMedrash. No doubt about it. I call Yaakov. His mokum is the Beis HaMedrash. Esav's mokum is out in the field. Esav was an ish sada. Is that bad? No. I mean, he made it into bad. But is it bad? No. The deal was, and this is why they were created, Yaakov has to know his place. Yaakov, it's not your place to become a lawyer. Your place is to be the Beis HaMedrash. Esav is an ish sada. Esav, you have a gewaltige, beautiful opportunity of feeding Yaakov Avinu, of bringing from the field to Yaakov Avinu to sustain him all that he needs. And that's a beautiful partnership. It's a beautiful partnership. Just like Eliezer, Eved Avram. He's the Eved, he's the Odin, and Yaakov and Esav, he was blessed. He asked his father, bless me, and his father says, Yitzchak Avinu told Esav, Esachicha tavoid, serve your brother. I would love to serve Yaakov Avinu. If somebody would tell me that Yaakov Avinu is over here in Ramat Eshkol and he needs lunch, you wouldn't want to go and serve him? It's the biggest, what? That was the problem. So that was the problem. Esav should understand. Don't forget, back then, we're talking about in biblical times, we're talking about people who didn't necessarily have the same little cheshbonos that we have, of bickering between brothers. But this is talking about what this was destined to be. And this is a much larger problem. This was the problem of the Nachash, or the Marishan. Nachash was created to serve the Marishan. I'm going into the whole sugya now. But if Esav would have been makir makoimoy, you have a beautiful opportunity to serve your brother. And the Gemara says, Eved melech melech. If you serve him properly, then you become like him. Just like Eliezer, Eved Avram was an Eved, and he began looking like Avram Avinu. Eliezer was an Eved, he was a Bnei Cham. And he began looking like Avram Avinu, his master. So you can become like your master. You want to be like your master, you can become like your master. If you do it in a healthy way, if you're a loyal Eved. If you understand Eved Avram Anochi, and you build yourself from being an Eved of Avram, so you'll become like Avram Avinu. That's healthy. Esau would become like Yaakov Avinu. He would become like Yaakov Avinu. Esachicha Tavid. But Esau said, what do you mean? I want to be the God Lador. I don't want Yaakov to be the God Lador. I want to be the God Lador. I should be out in the field. For some people it is they're mocking to be the God Lador, and some people it's not. And this was the mistake. The mistake was, don't leave your mokum. Esau left his mokum. He wasn't happy. This is the word of Eze Osha Samech Mechelkes, is the Heilige Tefer Shloim, and it means in Ruchnis as well. Eze Osha Samech Mechelkes, you've got to be happy with where you are in Ruchnis. Now it doesn't mean you should be lazy and be happy you're learning very minimal. No, of course not. But it means every person's going to know their koiches. Everybody's going to know their koiches. Everybody's got to know you cannot jump. You've got to grow healthily. And Eze Osha Samech B'Chelkoi means I'm happy, I know I can. And a lot of people come from homes, a lot of people come from difficult homes, a lot of people come from difficult upbringing, a lot of people come from a very poor religious upbringing, poorly religious, in a religious way. And you got to go organically, you got to grow and grow and go, and you'll get to where you get to. If you do it with emunah, with tefillah like Eliezer, you'll get to great places. But if you jump, you'll never make it. The tragedy of Esau was just that. And this is the Atzas HaYetzer. How does the Yetzer break people? The Yetzer breaks people by making them jump too high, too fast. And other people, you have to have a she'ifa to be the God Lador. It's not true. You have to have the she'ifa to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you to be. And you have to go b'tmimus. And if you see he's giving you the opportunity, Baruch Hashem, to learn and to be in yeshiva longer than you thought, so then echanami, that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be a Talmid Chacham, whatever, but not everybody is the God Lador. Everybody has to be an Eved Hashem. Just like Eliezer was an Eved Avram, every Yid is an Eved Hashem. Somebody here in the area told me that he can't find a shidduch for his daughter because his daughter said that she won't marry anybody less than Reb Chaim Kanievsky. An American family that moved here a few years ago. That's not healthy. That's not the mokum. That's not the mokum. She needs certain luxury. She needs certain things because she's used to certain things, American standards. She wanted to do Moisei Nefesh, but it doesn't mean that you mustn't marry anything under Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Every person's got his mokum. Shabbos Kodesh, that's the menucha of Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos Kodesh, the menucha is, I'm back to my mokum. I'm in my mokum. I feel healthy. I feel good with my mokum. Grow in your mokum. Grow in your mokum. That's called a chacham. A tipesh, a fool, is somebody that grows too fast because it's just going to break. And again, don't quote me as saying that I said that guys should take life easy. Of course not. A person has to be a masmid in your yeshiva. You have to be a masmid. But you know what? Do you know what it means, growing organically? Growing organically means being early at Shachris, being early at Storm, learning 3 Storm. On time, Hasmada. You want to add? Mitzvah Hashem, add. But what's your mokum? Your mokum is Shachris and 3 Storm. And anything above that, and you should want more than that, and I have sat with you guys what to do on Shabbos, what to do Ben Storm, what to do on Fridays, what to do. Gewaltig, grow on that. But no one should get up at Chatzois. No one should get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody should learn till 1 o'clock in the morning. Chavetz Chaim used to blow the candles out in his yeshiva. I don't know when, I think 11:30 or something. You got to grow, you got to know where your mokum is. Don't go out of your mokum because you're going to crash. And look where Eliezer, Zivi Kunin Doimelo, he began looking like Avraham Avinu. He became a shtick Avraham Avinu. But he never was Messiah Das, and he never denied that Eved Avraham Anoichi. And that was the mamish, the tragedy of Esau. He wasn't happy in his mokum. If your mokum is that, your mokum is to be an ish soda, you should be really happy with it. You should be really happy with it. Not everybody, and this is a big problem today, where not everybody is cut out to learn for 10 years after the chasna. And a lot of people are made to feel that if they don't have that she'ifa, or if they don't do it, or if they cannot do it, then they're failures. Every person got to know it. How do you know what your mokum is? You try your best, and you see where Hashem takes you. You daven to Hashem. You should try to learn as long as you can after your chasna, etc., etc. But not everyone is made. Not everyone is mishinantam levanecha. Just like chanoich lenar al pi darkoi. Gam kiyaskin la yosim imeni. Everybody's got their chinuch. Some people are mesugul, and some people are not mesugul. Some people from the backgrounds, from their families. Some people are not. You got to grow in your mokum. This is a very, very important nakuda, and therefore I want to finish. Oh, it's not even finishing so early, but I want to Mitzvah Hashem take questions, and if there's any questions to understand, because this is something that yeshiva bachrim and seminary girls, and a lot of places they don't give the right hadracha, and they don't give the right hashkafa on that. I know cases where even in seminaries they went for Mesiras Nefesh. They were taught you got to go with Mesiras Nefesh. You got to live in this tiny apartment, and you're talking about girls that come from nice huge apartments in America, and the way the derech HaTorah is to live in poverty or to live in Mesiras Nefesh and to have 5 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment, and they break down after it's some make it and some don't make it. It's not, you can't give such a dracha to people. You got to give a dracha that's healthy and they work kafim makoymain. That's what we wanted to share with you this evening. Is there any questions on that? Baruch Hashem, no, support. Yeah.
Has somebody know his place?